Reagan's the reason I got involved in organized politics. When my father was coach of the LA Rams, we moved out there in 1966, and Ronald Reagan was running for governor of California, and he came to a practice. And he was standing there shoulder to shoulder with my father, observing the practice, asking him questions. And I grew up in a football family, and I thought, my goodness, he's at a practice, paying attention to practice. I said, here's a politician who knows what's important, football. And so I was in high school then, and I followed what he did as governor. Then we moved to Virginia when my father came with the Redskins. And I was not involved in anything, but I liked debating and arguing. And Reagan asked me in 1976 if I would head up Young Virginians for Reagan. And I said, well, Governor, it's a great offer. I'm not in the college Republicans. I know nothing about organized politics. I like to tell people what a great job you did as governor and have great ideas for America. He said, well, just keep doing that. And so we won Virginia. We were the insurgents. We were the rebels against President Ford at the time. And that's what got me involved in organized politics. And Ronald Reagan, to me, was the best president ever. I'm not going to say George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James K. Polk, Abraham Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt, and others weren't great. But Reagan was relevant. He had those foundational principles of peace through strength. He stood up for freedom. He was smart. He was personable. He loved America and everything that was wholesome and good about America. He was a Midwesterner, Westerner with a great demeanor. And if you want to measure someone, look at obviously the economy, and all of that was great. But most important, he stood up for freedom against the Soviet Union. He called it the evil empire. He told Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And people said you shouldn't say that. But that wall did come down. The Iron Curtain came down. And there are literally hundreds of millions of people from the Baltics to the Adriatic that are tasting that sweet nectar of liberty and that invigorating breeze of freedom, thanks to Ronald Reagan, along with assistance, obviously, from Margaret Thatcher, Helmut Kohl, and Pope John Paul. All were important, but Ronald Reagan was a leader, and he was a great man, a great leader, and someone who aspired to make America that shining city on the hill. And I think a lot of us still have that same aspiration for our country. He motivated many young people and people all across the country. They have the Reagan Democrats. He is very effective, and I think he's very beloved. And I'm honored to be on the Reagan Ranch Board of Governors, where we preserve his Reagan Ranch out in Santa Barbara. Presidential homes are very important, so you understand the person, not just the policies. And Ronald Reagan did his own work. He built a lot of the fencing there and the flooring and the tack room and all the different things, clearing brush and riding horses and so forth. And so he's a very special person. But for Ronald Reagan, I could have gotten involved in politics at one point, but he was my inspiration. And I think the inspiration for people throughout Central Europe and those who love freedom around the world.
Well, my answer is going to be similar, a little bit different circumstances. As a class member of the sometimes called radical, sometimes called unwelcome, but the class of 1994 in the Congress of the United States, the majority makers, the 30-somethings and 40-somethings who decided to run for the House for that election cycle. You signed the contract with America, led by Newt Gingrich, and some very specific policy initiatives. That was the Reagan generation. We were the Reagan troops. We were the kids in college and graduate school who were most influenced by Ronald Reagan. So when you look at what happened in the mid-90s and the difference that class made in American politics over the subsequent years, there are lots of Reagan disciples out there still in public office, but particularly in the 80s, 90s, early part of the new millennium, it was the kids most influenced by Reagan who went to the law schools, went to the business schools, got involved in politics, decided to run for state legislatures and Congress, and that certainly reflected my class. My second observation, and Gov Allen touched on this, we talk a lot about leadership. There's a whole industry of leadership books. Everybody everybody has their own subjective definition of leadership. But I'm a Churchill-phile, as Governor Allen is as well. I'm a Reagan-phile, as Governor Allen is as well. And the reason for that is these were not simply politicians. I often say it's really easy to be a politician. You just get more votes than the other person. That's not hard. It's a popularity contest. What's not easy is leadership, because leadership often is unpopular. Leadership means at times taking unpopular stances. Sometimes leadership means losing. Ronald Reagan lost. Winston Churchill lost 3 different elections. Both suffered the slings and arrows of the media, particularly President Reagan, called lazy, dumb, and they were on the good days, unwelcomed by the establishment, saying unpopular things, calling the Soviet Union to task. He was going to be the cause of a nuclear confrontation, the whole 9 yards. Everything the press pulls out to degrade a conservative or a Republican. And he was not impacted by this. Like a true leader, he just decided to stay the course. He did what he needed to do. He didn't care about, I guess he did care about being degraded, but if you care about being degraded and you're a conservative Republican, and that really worries you, Gov, you need to find another line of business, because that's what's going to happen to you. Real leadership's defined as doing unpopular things when you think it's the right thing for the people. Clearly, that defined Ronald Reagan's life and political career. It's, I think, the primary reason we love him so much.
Let me add this to what Bob had. I had this up here, and this was given to my father from Ronald Reagan. And then when my father died, my mother said I should have this. And it is, let me try to get this so you can see, it's probably upside down with you, but his famous quote from September 1981, if not us, who? If not now, when? That message applies to all of us today. If not us, who? If not now, when? And so freedom-loving fighters like Bob Ehrlich and you, Dwight, and others in Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee, to Nevada and California, remember that. It's up to us. And freedom, as Ronald Reagan said, is never a generation away from extinction. So young people need to be also educated and informed on these positive, constructive ideas so that everyone has freedom and opportunities to succeed to the best of their ability.
Well said.